Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice.
Thank you everyone for being here and those watching on TV. I have a few comments on the mayor's report, which is unusual. But I want everybody to know about the Missouri sales tax holiday for clothing, personal computers, and school supplies. And that is a 3-day period beginning 12:01 a.m. on the first Friday in August and ending on midnight on the Sunday following. Just so everybody's aware of that, getting ready for school. Everyone's probably aware that we're going to be losing Printium, the manufacturing company on the hill here. And sorry to see them leave, but the city of Herman and Printium has been working very hard. And we have a possibility of a company that's really interested in taking over that building and setting up another type of manufacturing. So it's just at the beginning stages, so we're keeping our fingers crossed that that all comes about. The other thing that Ed Niehaus, who manages our recycle facility, is having some medical issues, and he's going to be out for some time. I would just like to ask everyone to keep Ed in your thoughts and prayers, and for a quick recovery. Ed does a really good job for us down there at the recycle center. And also, Earthling's auto repair business burned Sundays. They've been in business here for 37 years. You know, we need to keep them in our thoughts and prayers, and also, and be thankful of your Herman volunteer fire department who had to fight that fire in 105-degree heat. So we are really blessed to have such a group of dedicated guys, along with our dispatchers and the police and everybody else, when we have these situations. They did it. I wasn't there. I couldn't make it because of my business, but they did a very good job. Very proud to be a part of that. You know, being mayor, sometimes it's not the greatest job in the world, but I have to say, on July 17th, I went to the Victorian Manor and I read a proclamation for Mrs. Wagner, who turned 105 years old on the 18th. And what a wonderful experience. I wish everybody could have been there. She was such a nice lady. She was just so thankful. And the fire department came and they gave her a ride in the fire truck around town. And it was just, was one of them, you know, good things. So thankful that I got to participate in that. Also, I participated in the ribbon cutting for Lionheart Distillery on Schiller Street, and also the ribbon cutting for the library. If you have not been to the library, you definitely need to go and check it out. It's another great asset to our community. So, anyway, that is all I have. Quite unusual, I know. Administrator report.
So, to continue on with the recycling center, Ed is going to be out a couple weeks, but Jesse has lined up some of our guys to help down there. Our custodian here at City Hall has also volunteered to go down there and help fill in a little bit, but we do beg the public's patience as we're kind of trying to fill in the gaps for Ed while he's out. So I have news on the airport grant. Our engineer got back to me this week, and they are setting up they've got the bid advertisement ready to go for that project, and there is a pre-bid meeting on August 2nd, which will likely really determine whether or not we move forward this fall or in the spring. She's hoping to consult with the contractors who wish to bid on the project and see what the reality is of getting it done on our timeline, which would be getting it done by mid-November. If they can do the alternates, it might take until the end of November, and then you start running into things with getting asphalt and if the weather's getting cooler and things like that. So if all goes well and the contractors think they can meet the deadlines, then construction could start as early as September 26th. Otherwise, it'll be put off until spring. Jesse and I had a meeting with MPUA this week. They came to us on what they call one of their hometown visits, and they just reviewed all the services that they offered, including training, told us about all the advocacy they do for us on the state and the federal level, went over some financing programs, which are really good, and they're going to be pushing out some literature and some electronic messaging about the benefits of having hometown locally owned utilities. And so we'll be sharing that, distributing that as we get that as well. It was really good information. I'm waiting on any day. We should be getting our 2022 property tax rate information and our assessed valuations from the county and the pro formas from the state. And the rates have to be certified by September 1. So we are required to have a public hearing, and we try to do that at a regular Board of Aldermen meeting if all the dates line up. Depends on how the calendar falls, because we have to advertise it 7 days before the public hearing. So hopefully we can get that all done in August and at a regular meeting, but that should be coming in any day. I wanted to take this opportunity too to remind people that if they want to participate in Oktoberfest, believe it or not, it's already time to be thinking about that. Getting their festival event applications in, especially if they want to use park property. The park board only meets once a month, and then once the park board approves something, it has to go to the Board of Aldermen. So literally every year we have people who sometimes can't participate, or we're scrambling to do things to get it to where they can because they're not meeting those deadlines or thinking about how early they have to start on those applications. So if any business, individual, organization wants to participate in Oktoberfest, now is the time to start filling out those festival event applications. And I just wanted to mention I was perusing the new website, which is fantastic. The Visit Herman website has gone live. It's like really first class. So if y'all haven't checked it out, please do so. Did I say something wrong?
It's still a soft launch. So there's still lots of kinks to be made out, but yes, it's a new website to promote our tourism industry here in town and outside of town. Give it a look and let us know if you see anything that needs to be edited.
No, but I was just noticing that some of the pictures, we just still gotta get photos and things like that. But no, it's really cool. You should check that out. And the pool's only open a few more weeks, closes August 13th, so please participate and support your local pool. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Public Works Director report.
So on the electric department side, we got the lights turned down. All the lights are cut down to 45% power. The LEDs that we put in service about a month ago, something like that. I figured it up just to see where we ended up on actual power consumption. And it looks like the cost savings will cover those lights in about 7.5 years. And we have full warranty on them for 10. So we're going to come out way ahead on this transition. Hoping next year I can do the River Bridge, do that in one shot too, and we'll get all the lights converted to a little bit more high efficiency stuff around town. So if you've noticed that the lights are a little bit dimmer after the initial install, that's why. We've been working on wrapping up the right-of-way spraying. We do that every year, a couple times a year to help with vegetation, substations and such. We had a limb come down on 9th Street. We kind of lucked out there. We took out some primary, transitioned some secondary cable over there. We were able to pull a transformer out of service and put on the dock, which they're extraordinarily hard to get right now. So anytime we can add to that inventory, I feel really good about it. The 69 line, we got the legal paperwork from that all lined out. We got the easements happy with Central as far as the language. We sent those out last week with a certified letter to all the property owners that are affected. We've heard back from a couple of them. I haven't heard any concerns that I think are insurmountable so far, so that's good news. It's moving forward. Sewer, of course, the SIP program that we had going on, they finished that up early this month. Our outflow numbers, the E. coli and stuff that we have to maintain for DNR out of our lagoon, we've been knocking that out of the park all summer. I mean, like multitudes times better than we were last year. And I fully contribute that. The staff has done an excellent job this year maintaining that UV system. So hats off to them. That's that's one of those jobs that nobody really knows exists. But it's dirty. Nobody wants to do it, and they're doing a great job at it. So shout out to them. They've also been doing some right-of-way work for the Bavarian Hills stuff that's going on, and locating some manhole covers and stuff along that line for engineering. The gas side, as everybody probably knows, we had a gas line struck last week at Gathie. There's a 2-inch tap that came off of the 4-inch main that goes through, and it was 2 feet deep where the tap was initialized. They found it at 7 inches. So obviously that's a bit too shallow. We weren't comfortable putting it back. Jason Krusner and I kind of came up with an idea to bypass that whole area, and we've got it off into the edge of Gathie Street now. It's 2 feet deep, and hopefully we never see it again. I'll be just happy if I never see that gas line again. So that was taken care of. I was real proud of the guys for sticking with that and getting it done. The street department, they've been mowing when needed. Of course, that's kind of slowed down, thankfully. They've been doing a lot of the curb filling around town where the road work's going on, as you guys have seen. They've been filling in for Ed over at recycling these last couple days. And then I guess everybody's probably, half the people in town anyway, went down the new approach on Gathie coming on to 100. And I have to say, after bouncing over that for the last 20-some years, that was really nice. It didn't jar my teeth or anything. So it's nice and smooth and all finished. Parks Department has been mowing when needed again. They've been running around watering trees like crazy in the park system. We've planted a lot of trees in the last 3 or 4 years, and of course they all need water when it gets this dry. They're not real established yet, so they've been staying pretty busy with that. Ben's been looking at getting bids for a new filtration system for the pool, and part of that is going to be moving the pump out of that pit that's there and getting it up at elevation with the rest of the pool. That should allow us to keep the pool open, up to at least 36 feet at river level. So that'll be a big change for the kids of Herman to be able to swim when we've got a flood, which we all know happens pretty regularly. Other than that, if you guys have any questions?
Susan, any questions?
No, thank you. It all sounds good. Good job, guys.
Okay. Thank you, Jessica.
Yep.
Okay, we will move on to public comments. David Ferber.
No, you have the tree commission.
Oh, tree commission, I'm sorry, sit back down. I blew that one.
That's so they can see the sticker.
Okay, back on the agenda, Mr. Fleming.
Okay.
I just skipped right over you, I'm sorry.
Well, I guess I thought I would be here mainly to answer questions, but I think everybody had a copy of the proposal from the tree commission that I put together, so I don't think I need to read through it or anything. This kind of came about as the street project is moving forward, and I was at this meeting several years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, and you mentioned that this point was going to come, that they were, as we did the trees, they were going to start being removed, and we needed to have a plan, and we really didn't know quite what it was going to look like, and now we do. And what we're proposing is not perfect, but there's a whole lot of issues here that need to be balanced, and this is kind of our proposal, and I guess the commission's feeling is then it goes to you guys to figure out what needs to be balanced with what, but I think this gives you a good sound place to start from. With that, are there any questions?
Any questions? Susan? Any questions? That's a no, I guess.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Your name for the record, sir?
John Fleming.
John Fleming.
I'm sorry.
Okay. There's no questions. We appreciate you coming.
All
Take it
right.
under advisement and
Yeah, okay.
Ruth?
John?
I have a tree issue, should that come into public comments, or should that come now?
We can do it now. We'll do it now. I got you under here for a speaker card, but we'll do it this way.
Okay.
Do you want to announce how much time you're giving them?
Yeah, normally we do about 3 minutes. How much you got?
Probably 4.5.
We'll give you 4. How's that?
I'll speed it up. My name is Bob Kirchhoffer, and I live at 124 West First Street in Herman. Thank you for the opportunity to give my feelings on the current tree situation. I walked from Wharf Street to and including 6th Street and Gutenberg to Washington Street. I counted 101 trees in the area between the gutter and the sidewalk. Living in Herman for 80 years, I can tell you that many of the trees have been there all of my life. I am not a civil engineer, nor am I an arborist. Just using common sense, I came up that of the 101 trees, only 6 needed gutter repair and the 13 needed minor sidewalk repair. The minor sidewalk repair usually was for sidewalk squares that were in excellent, slightly raised, but otherwise in excellent condition. I could not see that around the 101 trees where any digs had been recently done because of the trees. Regarding the recent 4th Street removal, I found the following going from the east to the west. Tree number 1, stump does not show any sign of disease. No gutter repair needed from the tree damage. Very minor sidewalk needed. Concrete is not broken. Tree number 2, stump shows no sign of disease and gutter repair needed. Under minor sidewalk repairs needed, concrete is not broken. Tree number 3, stump shows no signs of disease. Concrete gutter needs small repair but not result of tree damage. Concrete sidewalk circle has been completed. Tree number 4, stump shows no disease, however, the remains still on the ground did show a small hole somewhere in the upper trunk. I cannot remember ever seeing that the tree being topped or cropped. I have to wonder in the cycle of life how many more years of life this tree could have been beautiful. Oh yes, this tree requires no sidewalk repairs and only minor repair damage would be required for the gutter. 2nd Street. There remain 7 pecan trees. There is no gutter damage whatsoever. Only 5 of the trees require only minimum repair. 5 of the gutters. Recently, sidewalks, I'm sorry. Recently, the 8th tree on the corner was blown down in the storm. This tree, according to the stump, was very diseased. Please check it out. It has been diseased for a very long time. My question is, this tree was almost completely rotten, but it stood for many years. Please correlate that with the potential life of the 4th Street trees. I don't want to be a bad guy, but I am quite disturbed at the fact that Jesse Geltz will be playing a big part in this resolution. I worked with Jesse for several years on an easement on the Mesmer Foundation property. This easement would provide a loop around the city of Herman for our electric supply. The loop is a great idea. Jesse had his ideas as how this should be done. I presented an alternate plan. Jesse would not listen. He would not budge. I was trying to preserve as much of the scenic value of our building lot as possible. Jesse told me, I hate trees. Feeling the need for the citizens of Herman, I finally relented and the easement was granted. Incidentally, the project on the loop has not been completed, and I don't know if it's even been started. And this is years have gone by. It took years to get to the point where we had an agreement. I certainly hope that the city council will write an ordinance that will not permit Jesse to be a one-man show. Remember the story of hiring a fox to manage the hen house. Remember Jesse saying he does not like trees. We should work to enhance the beauty of Herman. Okay. Can I have some of your time, Tom? Okay. Tom's going to give me some time. We should work to enhance the beauty of Herman, but not to destroy it. Remember, we all want industrial development. Tourism is a part of this development. Herman has it. Let's keep our city beautiful and our storefronts occupied. We should work with people who make personal investments in our town. Herman is now working with the street project, and we should keep the beautiful trees that we already have to enhance this project. The trees are an asset, not a liability. Take a drive to the towns north and south of Herman. See the empty storefronts with for rent and for sale signs. Not so in Herman. We've got it. Let's keep it.
Thank you. Okay, now David Ferber.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Okay.
I think so. I'm on track now. I apologize.
That's Farber, by the way.
Ferber.
David Farber, 811 Washington Street, citizen, that's it. As the project streets winds down here for 2022, I wanted to come in and say thank you. I was against that street in the past, being one of the first ones fixed simply because I lived there. I was taken out of the decision-making process on my own. But right now, thank you, Lord, for that street. It is smooth, it is wonderful, it is great. I think I could have used a bump or two in it early Sunday morning. But I would like to come in and thank some individuals. Todd Lensing, head of our street crew, and all of his guys worked their butts off out there. Todd was a lot of mornings, first thing I saw in the morning, last thing I saw at night. I swear he was sleeping in his truck out there at nights. He lived and breathed that. His crew worked great. Jesse Geltz, the Public Works Director, all the people with the gas, water, electric, and sewer, all were out there working. Not only, you have to think about, not only were they working almost full-time on this project, they kept the lights on, they kept the gas and water flowing, they kept the toilets flushing, they kept the rest of the town going at the same time that they were doing all that work out there. It's just absolutely amazing. To get a project this size done, it's not just the manual labor out there. There's a lot of paperwork that goes with this. For starters, the tax had to be passed. The people up here did that. Helped they get that going. But that tax is set up so that our tourism industry pays a lot of this. And it keeps a lot of that burden off of the citizens. Tammy Bruckerhoff back here behind me, her staff, and our tourism board work very hard to get those people here into town and to keep them coming back to spend that money in our shops and stores and pay that tax and alleviate that burden for the city, and they do an amazing job at it. Once that tax is collected, it has to be tracked, put in, I believe it's a restricted account, is that the proper term? Because that money can't be used for anything else, no matter what some experts like to mouth off about. The only thing that money can be used for is these projects. Tricia, Carol, Corey, and all the people in the front office do an excellent job with that. When all this is going on, you still have to put requests for bids out, proposals for all this. Things have to be, materials and stuff have to be bought for these projects. Contracts have to be let, checks have to be signed. That's all the paperwork that our staff does to get projects like this done. It's just honestly amazed me. I don't think people realize the amount of work that goes into a project like this, and our people do a wonderful job. And I just thought it was time somebody come in and said, thank you, Darry, that's one of you. Awesome job, God bless you, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. We will move to old business, discuss the prospect of the pedal pub business.
I'm sorry, did you miss another, do we remember the public speaker?
No, because Tom was the other speaker and Bob used his time.
I'm good.
He asked me if he could do that earlier. Strike two, one more in my breath. All right. Now can we move to old business?
Sure.
Okay, old business. Discuss the prospect of pedal pub business, Crystal Lake.
Hi, I'm Krista Lane. I would like to introduce, you can see him, Jake, our VP of Operations for our franchise Pedal Pub. I'm going to let him do majority of the speaking, answer any questions that you guys may have. I know when we initially presented this, there were some concerns or ordinances, things that we needed to overcome if possible. And he's here to address some of those for you.
Paul, Minnesota. Can you guys hear me okay?
Okay.
Jake, if you can hear me right now, we're trying to, for some reason, the HDMI splitter here is spotting in and out on the TV. Worst case scenario, I'm gonna switch you over to the laptop. Give me 1 minute, see if we can get this back to flow.
You're good. Are you at home? We're having a little technical difficulty. Or watching on TV. Okay, good. Lost you again.
I'm gonna switch them over. They to the know what's laptop. what for you. Jake, can you hear me?
Bigger isn't
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yep. Give me 1 second, and we're ready to go.
Ready to go?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Thank you again. I'll just reintroduce myself. My name is Jake Halbert. I am the Vice President of Operations for Pedal Pub at the corporate location in St. Paul, Minnesota. I want to thank you guys for the time today. We are very excited at the potential of bringing Pedal Pub to the great town of Herman, Missouri. Just to give you some statistics and some background on Pedal Pub, we were founded in 2007. We are currently operating in over 50 cities between the U.S. and then we also have 6 locations in Canada. At any given time, you can find 150 of our bikes on the road. We do conduct 50,000 tours per year annually throughout the U.S. and Canada. That's equivalent to 500,000 passengers per year. And in the last 10 years, we've had 5 million riders on Pedal Pub bikes. Pedal Pub bikes are LSVs, or low-speed vehicles. They do have an electric assist motor. That electric assist motor serves 2 really important purposes. Number 1, it helps our guests get up small inclines, so everybody doesn't have to work so hard. They have a little bit more fun. But more importantly, it is a safety measure to get out of the way of an emergency vehicle if need be. Pedal Pub is a very safe and fun, unique way for individuals, tourists, friends, family, coworkers to not only make memories, but also tour the great city of Herman, while also patronizing small businesses, such as bars, breweries, and eateries and restaurants. It's also eco-friendly, and there are no fossil fuels burning while on the Pedal Pub. Our Pedal Pub pilots are certified. They go through a certification process annually. They're also gone through a background check, both driving record and criminal background check. So Pedal Pub is number 1 priority is safety, number 2 priority is fun. And I just want to open it up to any questions you may have to myself or Krista in regards to Pedal Pub, and like I said, we're very excited at the potential to bring it to Herman.
Gentlemen? Any questions? And Susan still here?
I'm here.
Okay. Susan, do you have any questions?
No.
No, I think this was presented well before. Like I say, I know there's several issues that we as a city are concerned with. The open container is one thing. We We don't allow open containers on the streets, or we're trying not to allow open containers on the street. And you're gonna have open containers on the streets in the vehicle. We have a problem with the trolleys, and we're trying to curb that now. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges is that. I personally, I just don't think it's a good fit for Herman because of our traffic situation anyway. I mean, I can see it in a lot of places like St. Charles that they have the off streets and so forth, but that's just me personally, and I don't get to vote on it anyway, so I just throw in my comment.
If I may speak to the open container comment, is that all right?
Yes, sure.
So in cities where we operate, like I said, over 50 in the US and Canada, it's looked at through city ordinances and laws, oftentimes similar to that of a limousine. So you have a pilot that also, in some cities, is required to get a chauffeur's license. The alcohol does have very strict rules from our training to the franchisees for safety, number one. But the alcohol never leaves the bike. It is only canned beers and or seltzers with alcohol by volume of 6% or less, because it's not about alcohol, it's about touring the city in, again, a fun, unique way. And then furthermore, we don't allow any hard alcohol or any glass bottles. So if the patrons were to go to a brewery, eatery, a local small business, all of those cans or seltzer beverages stay on the bicycle. Nobody is allowed to get off without them. Furthermore, our pilots are always very aware of the individuals on the bikes and can stop a tour at any time for safety reasons and anything related to alcohol. So it's, again, our pilots are certified annually and they're given the right to control and maintain a safe and fun environment for our kids.
I'll chime in what the mayor talked about. One of my biggest concerns is the open container of intoxicating beverage is not based on percent of alcohol content or proofs. A beer would qualify as intoxicating liquor. And our several ordinances prohibit the open container. Number one, liquor by liquor law, our pubs, established brick and mortar saloons, taverns, can't allow that to leave their premises open. It must be in a sealed container. And our ordinance specifies that anyone that's in a vehicle in or upon city streets, alleys, sidewalks are prohibited from having any open container. I know I can hear the promises that won't happen, but the check's in the mail. We've had this enforced and everybody kind of slips through there. And another issue I have, and the chief had contacted the Department of Revenue in the state of Missouri, and the vehicle as proposed would not qualify for any license in the state of Missouri to be operated upon any state highway. So that would take out Market Street or our First Street. Those are both state highways. Now you could cross them, but I feel that our city streets should be treated the same as the state highways. They have to be licensed. And this vehicle would not qualify for a license to be operated upon our streets.
So if you don't mind me asking, the horse and buggy carriage that goes down Market Street, I've witnessed it, we've all witnessed it, it's interfered with traffic, it's on the roads, First Street, Market Street, it's on all the side roads. I've seen it numerous times this year. What's the difference between that and our regulated bikes that are licensed? We're trying to control the consumption of alcohol. It's not a free-for-all. What's the difference there? I mean, are they licensed? Is that something it's considered a horse and buggy? I know it's in ordinances, but so are pedal bikes.
Well, one thing, they don't serve alcohol on the horse and buggy. It's just a buggy ride. As far as them being licensed, That I do not know.
But they're on the main streets, they're considered state roads.
Well, that's what I'm saying, that I don't know about
I
the
do
the
know that
license.
they do have the lights on them, turn signals and headlamps and tail lamps. They do have the safety triangle on the back end of it.
As does ours.
So that'd be something we need to look into. I mean, it's a different kind of situation because they don't serve alcohol or allow alcohol to be on those carriages.
But this is more so directed towards the state highways. Market Street, First Street, you know, where the majority of our businesses are established is.
That would have to be something that would be looked into, but in the state of Missouri, in Amish country, or they have the horse and buggies on the state highways all the time out there, so I don't know. I don't know what the laws are with that.
I don't know.
I can't address that, I don't know.
Well, the concern with
Dave, do you have any idea?
I don't.
Okay, no problem.
the concern was the low speed. Horses carriages, they're not going to go any faster than 11 miles per hour unless you are hightailing it, which is in and of itself not safe. But that was a concern from the person or the individual up in Jeff City, was the low speed, unregulated, unlicensed vehicle being on those state highways. And our streets don't go past 25 miles per hour. So it's not like we're on a highway going 60 miles per hour. So that was just where I was trying to figure out the difference between the two. I understand the alcohol. I'm not going to throw particular businesses under the bus, but there are individual establishments that drinks come in and out all the time. The trolley, I know you mentioned that. That I know everyone has witnessed. There is no regulations to the seatbelts or the capacity that they hold. They're supposed to be. It's not monitored. I mean, I see it. It goes by our house numerous times a day. Again, this isn't chastising any business personally, but it's the conflict of concern here. It seems to be okay for certain people, but we're trying to regulate, monitor drinking, monitor, you know, we have certain people on the bikes, there's only so many seats, so many drinks per person. As he mentioned, there's certain alcohol contents prohibited. So it's just like we're trying to go through the right channels here and not sneak under the radar per se. We're being as open as possible, regulating as much as possible. Missouri does not have an open license or an open container law. Of course, any police officer, state, local municipalities are not going to like it. The driver is just not allowed to have that alcohol. There's not supposed to be an alcohol container in the reach of that driver. Everyone else in the vehicle, the passengers, can have drinks if they wish. And I know sometimes state can trump ordinances. Ordinances aren't technically laws. So I'm just trying to figure out what the right channels are to do this the proper way and make this a successful business and revenue generating business for Herman and tourism.
Another one of our ordinances, it falls underneath vehicles for hire. And this would qualify. It doesn't mention motorized or non-motorized. It just says that it's the right to refusal of the driver, anybody that's intoxicated or anybody has an open container cannot get on it.
Correct, they
In our
cannot,
ordinance. And also that it does say too that the owner or driver of the vehicle cannot transport intoxication liquor either
about the ordinance.
by the ordinance. That's for our vehicle for hire ordinance. It's 650.080. Because I have looked into this and that's the biggest part I have is impeding traffic during our festival events. Our streets are not wide enough, and our public works director and all of us can testify to that.
I would
And
say-
yes, we'll look into that horse and buggy thing and see if they do have the carriage rides, if they have license, and they have met with the state requirements. And we can address her from here, but right now, I don't think it's a good fit for her.
If there's one more thing I may add as far as the safety of the bikes, and just a side note, we do have a licensee that is operating in St. Louis, Missouri, so we do have someone else elsewhere in the state operating. These bikes have headlights, tail lights, blinkers, the triangle on the rear, a braking system, a backup braking system, and an emergency brake. So they're very, very safe vehicles, and we don't even really refer to them as vehicles. They're a pedal vehicle, man-powered, again, 20% powered by an e-assist motor. So I don't know if you've seen the pictures. I think Krista has provided in the past the specifications of the bikes. I think most of you, if not all of you, have seen the photos of the bikes themselves, and obviously you can all Google the images of the bikes too. Our Nashville location is our flagship. They do approximately $4 million in business, and they're the #1 pedal club in the entire world. So they have thousands and thousands of safe rides every year, and that's obviously a larger city, but we also are in much smaller towns as we're opening in Columbus, Georgia, and Augusta, Georgia, which would be 2 smaller markets, somewhat similar. Augusta would be real similar to Herman, where tourism is big with obviously the Masters Golf Tournament. Just wanted to piggyback on what Krista was saying.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Susan.
Have you been to Herman?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Have you been to Herman, Missouri?
I have not physically been to Herman, no ma'am.
What is their population? Is it less than 5,000 people?
We do have some pedal clubs in towns that small, yes.
Okay. My concern too is the safety, the size of our streets, the flow of traffic, because we have so much traffic in the evenings and on the weekends. That's one of my big concerns. And then these people are sitting on bike saddles with straps around them. What's going to keep them from falling backwards or reaching out to, like, I don't know, maybe if somebody's high-fiving or something and they fall off? Those are kind of safety things I'm thinking about.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. Some cities require us to put seat backs on each seat, so it is not so much like a bike seat as you kind of said, saddle. And then some cities have also required seat belts, so that you have a seat belt and a seat back. Most of our markets, to be quite honest with you, even the bigger markets, Minneapolis, Nashville, St. Louis, they don't require that. That wasn't a requirement, but Charlotte's a market that's significantly larger and did require the seat belts and seat backs.
Thank you.
So that is a modification that can be made to the bikes if the city required that modification to be done to appease safety concerns.
Susan, to your question regarding the high fives and the reaching out, that is something that has gone over thoroughly before the ride even begins. There are rules, there are established baselines to what can and cannot be done. It is a zero tolerance type of situation. If it is seen, if it is not respected, if it is not followed, we have the right to remove them from the tour in a proper fashion. Of course, we're not just going to toss them out on the street. But they would be warned and removed immediately if they did not respect the rules and the regulations given.
And also we do offer all of our customers the opportunity to wear a helmet if they like. They sign a waiver, similar to a lot of other entertainment and experiential events and venues like ours. So that is another safety measure that is offered by our franchisees.
Okay.
So Krista, would the loading and the unloading be done from restaurant to restaurant? Is that, now that you can't go out to the wineries on the highways, you're doing more in the downtown area, so it'll be more going between like restaurants and bars? And I guess, will you be loading and unloading from like the front doors of those places?
Preferably, most likely the alleys if possible, just because of the safety measures.
Yeah.
Market Street, I believe, is wide enough to pull over. I've seen it with other vehicles. First Street, I understand it's completely congested on the weekends, but no, it would be on a safe, or at the end of the block, something where they needed to walk to, because a lot of those establishments are right next to each other, aside from a few, and it would depend on the tour. depending on if they chose a brewery tour, if they chose a history tour. It would depend on the point. There would be designated points per tour provided as to where they are stopping and unloading.
And to me, it just seems like that might be the most dangerous part of it is the loading and the unloading. You know, unlike a trolley that would stop, you know, they're actually in a vehicle pretty much, but, I don't know. You know, again, with our narrow streets and the congestion that you were talking about. And so, not to be the wet blanket, but weren't there some, I mean, I guess my perspective is more of safety even than the container. Weren't there some high profile accidents with these? Wasn't Nashville one of them? Justin?
Yeah, it's been on the news in the last couple of months.
Yeah, it's been made like the national news.
The isolated incident in Georgia.
Yeah, there was an incident in Georgia with a pilot that went on a route that was not sanctioned by our franchise location, and he went on a hill and was approximately traveling 25 to 30 miles an hour. These bikes are now having governors put on them, so that is not possible. And again, they travel at 9 to 11 miles per hour. But our safety track record far surpasses any limousine, Uber, Lyft, any competition that we've ever had. Like our safety track record, like I said, over 500,000 riders per year, 50,000 tours without incident. So unfortunately, accidents do happen. Thankfully, no one was seriously injured in that accident. So that we're thankful for, but yeah, that did occur.
You brought something up earlier that I just was thinking would be curious. You said franchisees sanction routes. So would you have the control of designating the routes, mapping them out? Drivers cannot deviate from those routes.
Correct, and there would be designated stopping points per route outlined. There would be no straying from that. And that's where we would make sure we found routes and stopping points safely. We're not going to stop in the middle of First Street. That's crazy, but I know like the trolley is supposed to have designated stopping points. It would be the same situation. We would outline those, whether it be signs up, whether it be it'd be known to everybody in the area. Somehow it wouldn't be just a drop off at any point. They'd be established well ahead of time.
I get
and to add to that, if I may, some of the cities we operate in, we just opened recently in Toronto, Canada. The city granted permits, and the Pedal Pub was awarded the franchise, but they actually asked for a route review, and the city wanted to approve those routes, and that's something that we're all for as far as putting those routes in front of you all to approve them. Most importantly, to give business to those small businesses. We want to make sure, like in Minneapolis, for instance, we have a tour that had nothing to do with alcohol. That was a brunch tour. And so we had a tour route that ended at a great restaurant that has fantastic brunch, and that restaurant was able to benefit from the patrons of the Pedal Pub eating lunch there. So that's just another way we can help the small businesses in the community.
And that is to piggyback.
How many of these pedal bars would you have?
Herman, we just start with actually just one. We normally start our franchisees with two. We would start with just one in Herman with Krista.
To the point of the
It'd
alcohol.
be one on the road at a time to start.
This isn't just for 21 and over. I mean, this is for the whole community. I mean, it would of course be waivers and family oriented. There's work groups and activities that are done. It doesn't have to base itself around breweries and just wineries and alcohol establishments, but it would be. I mean, it could be. I love history, so it would be a history tour of the oldest areas of Herman or George Bear's grave. It would be something that it benefits everybody. It's not just for tourism. It is for locals. That is a goal. I've mentioned this the last meeting. Being from Herman, being a young kid, there is really not a whole lot to do. You get yourself in trouble more than not. So it's something that, birthday parties, wedding parties, I mean, things that,
High school graduations.
yeah, they don't have to have alcohol involved. So it's not like we're focusing on that, but Herman is a huge tourism where people come to town for the alcohol. We have some wonderful breweries and locally made wines. So yes, that is something that we would like to incorporate, but it's not the overall goal is serving alcohol and having a crazy good time.
Can I ask a question about, I guess, the operational aspect of it? I get it. This is a really cool idea. It's from a touring and an experience point of view. You couldn't ask for a prettier location than Herman to have an open air, people mover so people can look and see at things while they're going. But I love everything you said with not involving the alcohol. What is, from a business standpoint, what is the purpose of selling the alcohol? Can there be a pedal pub bonification?
We don't actually sell the alcohol. The alcohol is brought on by the groups. They carry them on. We would have coolers set in the center, and we monitor them. We know what they're bringing on. We know what they can and can't have. So it's not unregulated per se. So they bring it on. They buy it themselves prior, as long as it meets code to what we can and can't have on the bikes. Then we would allow it to be served. And I mentioned, I'm not sure if have you read my previous speech, but
I was in the audience in the previous speech.
But we were going to limit it per men and women. There's also a limitation to the alcohol that's served. It's not 10 in the hour and a half ride. That's a lot. We want them to be able to get off and safely go and enjoy themselves at other establishments.
Only thing I will add, and this comes from an email that the chief of police sent out, and this comes through Special Agent Dellert with the Department of Revenue. He advised the pedal bar would not be licensed by the state of Missouri, nor be allowed on any state highways to operate at any time. They would be allowed to cross a state highway, but no highway travel. So that rules out First Street and it rules out Market.
I don't know if it's out of the question. I know other franchisees have licensed their vehicles. I don't know Missouri's in depth.
Well, that's where we're in Missouri.
That's
Not
what.
Florida and Canada, we're in that great state of the show.
I can tell you our licensee in St. Louis was not required to have to go down the step of, let's say, getting a VIN number, becoming a registered vehicle, because it isn't truly a vehicle. It doesn't have a motor. It's not an engine.
Now that's dealing with the city of St. Louis.
But St. Louis is in the state of Missouri, and Missouri law trumps city law.
All I'm saying is what our Department of Revenue for the state says that to operate on their highways, no, you wouldn't qualify. So St. Louis can't go against the state statute. Now they can restrict upon it, we can on our city streets. We can enforce ordinances for our right-of-ways, but we can't enforce them on state.
Right, which I completely understand, but it goes back to the argument of the carriage and either that needs to be looked into or there needs to be modifications. To be frank, it's not, they're probably licensed, I don't have any doubt in that, but they're at low speed. We have been behind them personally to see them conflict in traffic. And that is on Market Street. That's a state, if it's considered state highway, it's not 55 miles per hour, it's considered state highway. But there are, I think, exceptions to the rule that are being broken, if that's the case. And that's what we're trying to.
Like I said, that's something we need to check into. And if everybody was here and we voted and approved on it, what is your target on when you want to start this? You have a target. Yeah, probably 6 months ago.
A year ago. Most definitely past October. By all means, we would love the revenue and the excitement of Oktoberfest and that being brought in, but we would want to get past that, most likely mid-November, to do a soft opening, see how it goes, the slower season, and then pick back up in the spring when we've ironed out any kinks.
I think to be fair with you, I think what we need to do is also check on the horse and buggy thing and get some facts on that. And then I would like, I know Susan's on camera there, but I would like to have all 4 board members here before we voted on it. What do you all think? I mean, that's how I feel about it.
I would be curious to, if you guys did a little legwork on the state highway aspect of it. You know, can they, you know, we can look into with the carriage
That's what I
rates.
say, we need to do a little more homework maybe, and that we didn't do.
But just for the record, Pedal Pub does not sell alcohol.
It does not, no. It's brought on the record. No, we would not need a liquor, we would not
We
establish a
don't
liquor
sell it or
license.
serve it, either one.
Okay.
And no open containers, I don't care if it's beer or wine or whiskey, they can't be on there, period. That would be my hang up for sure.
Could you do it without alcohol, Krista?
We could, but you'd be excluding a lot of the tourism of what comes to why, what's the reason of coming to town. But it is possible. There are cities that I know that have done that. I think at the initial beginning and then incorporated in the alcohol aspect of it. And
Yeah,
Jacob,
that's one thing that we've had with cities where they have a pre-season, or like Krista spoke to use her verbiage, a soft opening, where there is no alcohol permitted at all. And then once the city knows how safe it is and the revenue that can be generated, then they've gone to, again, just malt beverages and seltzers only. Never hard alcohol, wine, anything above 6% alcohol by volume. Always stays on the bikes. We do not sell it or serve it.
Okay.
Let us do a little research and we will invite you back, I guess is, let's put it that way. And that way when everybody's here and we have some firm answers that we can address that. And if you want to do your own homework on that also, or if you can find some facts and present us to, does that sound fair to you? I mean,
yeah,
I
absolutely.
guess-
No, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate the opportunity. I mean, it's better than it's hard now.
Okay, all 4 of us will be here and we can maybe move forward for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Thank you,
Thank
Jake,
you all
for
for having
joining.
me. I appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll move on to building permit fees. Mike, or, yeah, Mike.
I was here a while ago and I gave you guys some information on a couple of things that I think we should take the opportunity to address. In particular, I broke it down to areas where we're sorely lacking, or we're way below par compared to communities around us. Particularly, there's a couple that I like to call them a la carte fees. You know, these are just, like, for example, a deck or electrical service or a swimming pool. We're $20 lower than everyone else. And I think to keep my position here in town, I need to generate revenue to pay for it. And I'm not looking to gouge anybody, I just want to be on par with the other communities around here. And there's one other area that I'd really like you guys to take a look at, and that is the residential building permit multiplier. Currently, our residential building permit multiplier is 1/10 of 1% of the average square foot building cost nationally. And everyone else around us, I gave you this handout a while ago, is at least 4/10 of 1%. And we also don't have any penalties for people doing work without permits. We kind of are at the mercy of people just cooperating. I mean, I can stop work, but, and I want to give you one quick example. Recently, I received a set of drawings from an architect that were lacking details in every aspect. And I was under the gun to get them a permit. They called me, they wanted the permit right away. The architect promised me finished drawings. I issued a permit that day only to be kind of picked on for it being too much money. So I reviewed it and I lowered the fee, the permit fee. I spent a couple hours on this drawing. And I know I'll have at least six inspections on the job. And that's my time, which you guys are supposed to get something for. It's not a lot of money. It puts us on par with the other communities around us. And I know that the previous building inspector was fighting for these fees to be raised for some time. Did anybody get a chance to look at that information I gave you?
The last one.
Did you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I agree. I think that the basic fee should go up. The only one that I have, I don't know if I call it an issue, is yes, residential should go up. With the commercial, I don't know if we should really do a whole lot of raise with commercial because of normally the volume of the expense of a commercial. You know, I don't know, I just have mixed feelings about that. This is just me personally,
Well, personally, I'm okay with the commercial where it is.
Oh, okay.
The only one I want to target is the residential.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not picking on residential homeowners here, but
We're
you
so
know,
far down.
everything has gone up. You can't go to a Ford dealership and tell them you want to give them, you know, 3 years ago price for an F-150. You're just not going to get it.
Right.
So the cost per square foot has gone up nationally, which has helped us a little bit because I update the tables every February, or that's what Lee did prior to me. A real quick example, a permit I issued the other day was under $300. It's going to be a lot of inspections for me, and if we raised it to 0.4%, that same permit would have been $1,200, which I don't know how many of you guys have gotten permits lately. That's still not a lot of money. And if we don't raise our permit fees, I'd like to start implementing what I call a la carte fees, like a per plan review fee, because I spend time going through the plan, you know, and I go to job sites, I answer questions for contractors, you know, I make time for that, and I just think that the city should be compensated for that.
So your recommendation is go from 001 to 004?
Yes.
For residential?
For residential, and then there are about 4 or 5 a la carte fees I'd like to raise to be competitive with the neighboring cities. A deck fee should go from 30 to 50. Electric service should go from 30 to 50. A swimming pool fee should go from 30 to 45. And I believe we should have a re-inspection fee added of $25. And I would also like to add a permit review fee, you know, a plan review. Because there are times when I've had to call Jesse in to take a look at something with me. I've tied up time with other people, you know, Todd's looked at things. You know, this is time that the city's paying for. And, you know, I could put my foot down and stop and say I'm not going to give a permit because I need this, this, and this. But I try to be accommodating, you know, because it's a small town and want things to keep moving.
Is going from 001 to 004 to us, I mean, is that too much at one time for us? I mean,
The commercial multiplier is 0.004 here. And so that wouldn't change. The residential would just come up to that level. And you also know I work in New Haven.
Right.
And the multiplier in New Haven is 0.00457. So it's, you know, almost 0.06% more than Herman.
I would think, could we just, I'd see some of them, like say New Haven, it's all for the multiplier. St. Clair's all. Could we just go with Herman 0.004 all?
I would, yeah, because the only other multiplier we have is institutional. And I'm not sure how many institutional permits we've given out in a year or 2 years.
That way commercial wouldn't change, but then the other two would be brought up in comparison to local.
Right, and ironically, I haven't had one single complaint about a commercial building permit fee. And I've issued quite a few of them.
Is it common practice for towns to have two different levels for between residential and commercial?
Yeah, I just kind of studied the
Right,
towns around
right.
here. Yes, and there's also, like, you get to Jeff City, which we're really not in comparison to Jeff City, but they hit you with single fees on everything. They fee you to that like the old airlines used to do. But yeah, there's only a couple communities where the multiplier is the same.
Okay.
Susan, do you have any questions?
No, I think I'm on board with all this.
Okay. Then what do you think we forgot about you?
The only, I will just voice a concern for people, since this is targeted at residential, as much as we want people to do the right thing, to get the permits, to make sure that everything is up to code, a 4 times increase is a lot to swallow in one, from this day to this day.
I understand, it sounds like a lot, but when you're going from barely anything to 4 times barely anything,
Still 4 times barely anything.
you know, in the grand scheme of doing a project, if someone's gonna spend, I'm sorry, I'm talking about spending someone else's money, someone's gonna put $200,000 into their house, you know, $800 on the permit fee isn't gonna derail the project.
True.
You know, and I honestly do believe I do put time in for every project. You know, I've been to Schiller Street half a dozen times, you know, because I don't want the building to fall down in the process of remodeling it. So I just put that on my route. You know, and that's how I notice what's going on. And I do drive around town a lot. I try and keep an eye out for things that are going on because, you know, it's revenue that the city could use.
So I voiced the very same concern that you had and had a conversation with Mike about it because I felt the same way. And we know that there are locals who are wanting to do residential projects. And we certainly don't want to look like we're trying to discourage that by any means. These are long overdue. Lee did try for years to get these raised and, you know, it just never seemed like it was a good time to do it. So just a little more information is that we are literally, we're only covering about half of our building department expenses, and we should be at least breaking even. You know, we're not out trying to make money on the backs of our citizens or anything, we're just trying to pay for the service, and we literally we're $15,000 shy of even covering our expenses. And so my personal feeling is that, yes, all of these a la carte things that you call them, all these individual fees, they do need to be raised. Those are, with what Michael said, the same as New Haven. I think that is fine. Those are just hitting in small little increments at a time. But yeah, when you look at those numbers of going from 0.001 to 0.004, it's huge. And so if you guys aren't comfortable with that, I would think that we could do it in stair steps, you know. Like I said, in order to break even, we need to be doubling our fees. So even if we went to 2 or 2.5, you know, initially that might be a good step in the right direction. And then this is one of those things like how we started addressing our wastewater rate fees and our water fees. It's looking at them every year and analyzing them and going up in those very small increments instead of just not doing anything for 10 years and then all of a sudden it's a huge increase. So if you guys aren't comfortable with that huge jump in that multiplier, maybe we could do a stair step.
I am not comfortable with a 400% increase. I think that's a little drastic, and we certainly want to break even. We don't want to make any money, but I think a 400% increase is a lot in any for whatever you're talking about. So,
I'd rather see if we're gonna address it, do the increase now, because we're gonna get slammed anyhow if we have an increase. But if we go 0.002 this year, then we go 0.003 the next year, then 0.004 the next year, we're gonna get slammed 3 times in a row. I think we should go ahead and make the leap I had wrote down my suggestions on the permits, which mirrors what Mike had said. So, and this is just building multipliers when we're building a new house, so it doesn't affect everybody in town. And how many new houses have we had in Herman in the last 5 to 10 years?
A few, but something else to bear in mind is you're only paying 50% of that building permit fee if it's a remodel, which is 90-some% of our residential.
Okay.
You know, so then again, you take that same $1,200 permit fee and now it's $600.
Okay.
You know, in the grand, I'm sorry to harp on this, but in the grand scheme of things, when your material bill is this, you know, the size of a Buick and your permit thing's like a doorknob, you know.
Fair enough.
And we've had a big hole in that bucket for 10 to 15 years. I think it's time, we've lost enough money to 10 to 15 years, it's time to put a plug in that hole. Is it wrong time economically, but we gotta make it sometime.
Yeah, and if not now, when? It's never a good time. I got all those bullet points. And the last thing I'll say, and I'll leave this out, compared to a larger city, these permit fees are nothing. I thought Carroll made a mistake the first time I got a permit when I moved to Herman.
And the other thing you gotta remember, when you're in a larger municipality or larger area where they have fire districts, then the fire district comes in and does the inspection and they charge building fees too. So
Yeah.
you get a double whammy.
Yeah, I mean, I go for the library, I went for the sprinkler inspection. I'm not the fire chief, but, you know, I put that in that's part of my gig,
Right.
you know.
I'm just saying that, so, you know, we're fortunate here more ways than one because if you don't have that extra fee that's gonna be tacked on.
Yeah.
Susan, how do you feel? Hello?
I think that we should raise the deck, the electric service upgrade, the swimming pool fees up on the building permit, and that we should add a reinspection fee of the $25. And instead of going for, what would it take for us to break even? Would 3 bring us even? Instead
Yeah.
of 4?
Yeah, it should, and maybe, I would certainly think so.
Okay.
I don't have a
If
vote
3
on it,
brings
so
us
you all
even, why don't we do 3?
are gonna have to, somebody's gonna have to make a motion to what effect you wanna go. And so-
I mean, I guess
Are you-
at the next meeting would be when they actually, I think here is kind of preliminary, and the Dave, based on what you say tonight, Dave will prepare an ordinance to actually be voted on at the next meeting.
But we have to decide
Right.
what rate you wanna do though tonight. Right?
Well, unless you do 2 readings, and then if I put .003 in there, and then after sleeping on it at the next meeting, if the consensus is that it should be 4, you can do the second reading at the next meeting.
Okay.
And it
Changes.
But it's,
All
you should
right.
get the ball rolling, I agree.
How about the individual permits? Like you mentioned, and I wrote down for deck $50.
Yeah.
Do we need,
Does that need to be broke down per item in the ordinance?
There's
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's a schedule.
I think Susan listed pretty much the same thing you and I have talked about. There's like 4 or 5 things that would make a couple $100 a month difference,
Okay.
you know.
That's the way we'll proceed then. You'll do an ordinance with the fees in there and we'll have it at the next meeting.
Thank you.
you can get your suggestions, Tricia or Corey, and they'll get with Dave and they start the ordinance
I
process.
can get them to you tomorrow.
That's fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along. Any new business? No new business?
Well, let me touch on something. It's not really new, but it's old. I'll figure
Okay.
that one out. Want to go along with what the mayor said about our fire department. They're volunteers. And I want to remind everybody, because I got mine in my mail today, that the residential fire dues are due by the end of August the 31st. They're running a month behind, so look for your mail, get a check turned in, because it's well deserved.
Yeah, thank you, I overlooked that. Okay, any other old or new business? If not,
No.
we'll move on to motions. Got a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
I move to approve the minutes.
Motion's been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
So carried. Okay, we'll have a motion to pay the bills.
I move that we pay the bills.
Motion's been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Hire Robert Haskin as a tourism marketing specialist. Any questions? If not, do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
Motion's been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
So carried. Hire Ashley Vance for a dispatcher position.
Motion to approve.
Motion's been made, do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
So carried. Approve a bid and service agreement for the Power Phone Total Response Service software for dispatch. Everybody had a chance to read this and understand what that's about?
Now, Vera made the trouble to come to our meeting, so maybe she'd like to say something. Are you sure?
If everybody, basically, they're just changing from the company that we have to a new company and saving some money. That's the bottom line. The way
I move to approve that.
That's the way I read it, am I correct?
Yes, we're being forced to go from using card sets, which are hard copies of the protocols that we use, to an electronic version. Our current company has no other option than one, which is complete control over all of the entire process of call taking and data mining our information. And they're going to charge us basically $50,000 to do that. So there are two other companies that do dispatching software as well. They have other options that are not as expensive and are not going to do data mining. It's going to leave us more in control of how we do things and how things are operated. We're a small dispatch center and we do things a little bit differently because we not only have police, fire, and ambulance, but we also dispatch the city utilities of electric and gas. And there are rules on how that has to be dispatched, as well as there's rules about how fire and ambulance and police have to be dispatched.
Right.
So we have more flexibility, can set things up to work for our particular environment with PowerPhone, as opposed to being very strictly controlled and with the other company and having to pay a significantly higher price.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve that? Or do you have any other questions?
Did Susan make a?
Susan, did you make a motion? I didn't hear, I'm sorry. Okay, motion's on the floor, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Apologize. Approved renewal of Madden Media Search Engine Marketing Contract for the Tourism Department. Any questions on that one?
Motion to approve.
Motion's been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Approved Park Board recommendation to increase soccer registration fee from $50 to $55 as to offset some charges they're being charged. Have a motion to approve that?
I do have a question.
Do you have a question?
Is the city administering the soccer, youth soccer, or is that?
Carol, is that? We're
It's
doing
They're
that?
using
It's the-
for their online stuff.
Yeah, it's for they finally went online for soccer. They started the soccer with the online. So the, Sam Steffen has it all set up online
Okay.
and everybody's paying through that, but they still can, if they need to, like if you don't have computer use or something like that, you still can come in and fill out a registration. Sam will take it and, put it online for them, and then they can pay me cash or check, whichever, and then we'll get it to the Sports Connect. But yeah, they still can do it here at the office if they need to.
Just make sure we weren't excluding anyone.
Nope, they can come in anytime.
Thank you. Now do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Caterers Permit Hermanoff Incorporated DBA Hermanoff Winery Shakespeare at the Farm Festival, 2206 Highway 100, August 27th and 28th.
Motion to approve?
Motion been made, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
So carried. Caterers Permit Hermanoff Incorporated, DBA Tin Mill Brewery and Adam Poopta Winery, Wine Chest, Wine and Jazz Festival Amphitheater, August 27th and 28th. And motion to approve that.
I move to approve.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
So carried. Picnic Liquor License, St. George Parish and School Fundraising Dinner, 128 West 4th Street, October 1st.
Motion to approve?
Motion's been made, do I have a second?
Second?
Motion made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
So approved. Appoint Hannah James and Carol Bear, is that how that's pronounced, to the Arts Council. And motion to approve that?
I'll move to approve both Hannah James and Carol Bearer.
Motion's been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and set, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion's been made, do I have a second?
I will second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you everyone for being patient. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Or was it a working vacation? It was a working vacation.
Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Oh.